Alright, so this video is going to be a tutorial showing you how to do an exploded assembly and a review of how to create a drawing sheet or drawing sheets. So all of your projects, regardless of which one you're working on, if you come into your woodworking folder on the Schoology page here and go to the tutorials page, you will see an example of what your drawing sheets should look like for pretty much all of the projects. So you can use these as a guide, and if yours looks like what you have in here, you should be good to go. Okay, so these are your end products for your drawing sheets. Now before you do your drawing sheets, and really it doesn't really matter what order because you can go back and forth between drawing and assembly at any time. But to make this exploded assembly here, you need to go into an assembly view. We also need to make this bill of materials. So I'm going to show you guys that and how to get started with the drawing. So we're going to do that with something a little different where I'm not going to use any of the projects that we've done. I'm going to use this different project here. This is a puzzle cube project that I've done in the past. So I'm going to open that up in my Part Studio right here. You can see that I already have an assembly and a drawing here. I'm going to create some new ones. So you shouldn't have to do this part. You should just be able to use your assembly tab that's already there. But since I've already created one, I'm going to click plus right here. You can do that at any point and add an assembly or add a drawing anytime you like. I'm going to create an assembly and go into this blank space here. Once I'm in here, I'm going to choose Insert, and I'm going to select my Part Studio file that has all of my parts in it, and I'm just going to click to place it and hit the green check mark. Now before I do anything with this, I'm going to zoom out a little bit and get this positioned to explode this and have it oriented the way that I want it to show on my drawing sheet. So I want an isometric view like I have right here. I want my view cube to show me 3 different surfaces. It doesn't have to be top, front, and right. If you want this view instead, if you are indifferent or you drew it the same way that I did, you want to have front, right, and top, and the way you get them all together is instead of just like kind of rotating it and trying to get it there, you click on this corner in the view cube. Then, like I said, zoom out and kind of push it over to the side, and we're going to come over here and the center button here where it says Exploded Views, we'll click on that and we're going to choose Add Exploded View. And then I want to zoom and pan until I get my object right where I want it. And I'm going to decide pretty quickly which one of my parts I'm not going to move. There should be one part in your project that you leave right where it is and everything else should move away from it. In this case, I'm going to keep this red part right where I have it. So I'm going to move everything else away from it. And when you're choosing which way to move something, you typically want to choose the direction that is going to make the most sense for assembly. In Onshape, you can move it any direction, but move it a direction that makes sense. So I'm going to click this green part. And anytime you click on a part, you're going to get all these 3 different arrows right here. So I want to move this part up. With this arrow, I can move it up or down. I'm going to go up, and I just want to give it enough space that there's white space around it. If I'm happy with the spacing, I'll hit the green check mark, and then I can click off of this button and move on to the next piece. I'm going to click on my white one. This one I want to move out this direction. Green check mark, click off of it, click on my next piece, move it where I want it to go. Green check mark, click off, and then I'm going to click on my last piece, move it down, green check mark, and I'm done with my exploded assembly view here. Alright, that's all there is to it. Now I can come down and I'm going to start a new drawing. So I'm going to go to Create Drawing. A-size sheet is what we're going to go with for pretty much everything. And once we come in here, this first page that we're going to do, we're going to be placing assemblies. So I can do it from right here and click on Assembly, but if you X out of that, you can always come up here to Insert View and click on Insert, and then go to Assembly. And I'm going to choose my assembly here, And actually, I'm going to choose Assembly 2, which is the one that I just made. Okay, and you're going to be placing two views on here that are orthographic views. You'd like to have like a front and top, but basically you want to show two views that are going to give us the overall dimensions for your project. Now, the views that I just brought in here are kind of on the large side. I don't like how much space they're taking up, so I just hit Escape to get out of that Place View area, and I'm going to double click on a view, and I can change my scale right here. In this case, I'm going to cut my scale in half, make it a little bit more reasonable. And then you can position these views as you see fit. Use the dimension tool, and for these assembled views here, I just want to get the overall dimensions on it. So the height, the width, the depth, and of course my cube is the same on all three, but they are three different directions, three different dimensions, so I still do need to include them. You know, if I was making the nightstand, it would be 30 inches tall, 18 wide, 18 deep. All right, and then I can hit Escape to get out of there, and I want my dimensions something like this. I'm going to move my isometric over here. I think my isometric is looking a little bit on the large side, so I'm going to make that actually a smaller scale. And then if I want to give it some color, I can right click on it, and then under Show Hide, I'm going to show the shaded view, which I think makes it look good. All right, and now I'm going to insert a new view, and I do want this to be Assembly 2. For this one, I want to choose an isometric view, and for the Explode/Position, I want to choose Explode. Okay, and that looks way too big, so you can place it and change the scale after the fact, or you can just change that right off the bat here. All right, and I'm going to give this a shaded view as well. All right, and that is just about everything that we need on the front page here. The only thing we're missing is our bill of materials. So to do that, we need to go back into your assembly, and in your assembly, this first tab right here is your bill of materials. I already put this stuff into my other one. It's just updated automatically. For your bill of materials, you can't get rid of items, so item, you'll leave that there and it'll number them. For quantity, I right click and I remove this column. I don't like that column in there. Same thing with part number. I'm mostly going to remove that. Item and description and name are the main things that I have in your projects. Okay, so if you want to move the order of these, you can right click on one and you can move it to the left. And I can put my names in right here, leg, top, shelf, and so on. And then under description, you can type in, this is where you want to type how many pieces you have, and also what the dimensions are. So your length, your width, and your thickness should all be in the description, along with how many of each part. If I have redundant pieces right here, I have 4 legs rather than take up 4 places here, or 4 rows, I can right click on one and I can click Exclude from BOM, and then in my description I'll just say that there's 4 legs instead of taking up 4 spots here. Alright, so again, item, name, and description is what I would have in your project. I'm going to remove the name for mine and just keep the description here for this demonstration. And then in my drawing, once I have that created, I can come up here to the BOM table. Over here, it should say whatever assembly you're in. And then I'm going to bring it over to that top right corner right there. And see over this little button right here? This is an update button. And if this is glowing yellow, it means that you updated something somewhere else and it's not updated in the drawing yet. So if I click that, it should update this to what I actually wanted it to look like, which now it is there. The last thing I could do with this is I have a lot of empty space in here, so I'm going to actually utilize that a little bit better and spread my views out just a little bit, just to make the drawing look a little bit nicer, a little bit neater. It's not a bad idea to add some titles in here. You know, typically I don't show the scale on every single piece. I often like to put my name in here, but that's not at all required. And then same thing right here, I like to put the title of my drawing. If you are needing more than a single sheet, which all of you should have at least 2 sheets, over here is your Sheets button. If I click on it, I can add or insert a sheet, and you can see I can go back and forth between the sheets here and add as many as you want. I can also delete my sheets from here. But then once you're in this sheet, you can see subsequent sheets after that first one, you don't have nearly as large of a title block, so you have more space in here. And then you're going to simply insert. And now we're going to be doing individual parts. Most of your parts, if they're a flat piece, you can get away with one view and just make a note of the thickness. But you may need to put 2 or, depending on the part, even 3 views at times. You know, and if I were dimensioning this part right here, I'd say that this is taking up way too much space on my sheet. So if I come over here and I change my scale to half of that, that looks a whole lot more reasonable. I always make my isometrics a smaller scale than my multi-views. I just think it ends up looking better and emphasizes what's actually important, which is the dimensions, not the actual actual isometric. Okay, so your views should all be locked together like this, and then you can, of course, dimension, and some of this text is in my way, so I'm going to get rid of it. So if I were dimensioning this right here, I'd want to get something along these lines here. And that's getting too close, so I'd move it over. All right, so anyway, you would continue to do this for your drawing sheets. Again, as far as examples go, back on your Schoology page, this is what you're actually looking to produce for your drawings, depending on which one of your projects is. So come right on in here and then find which one you're working on. Basically, you're making kind of a duplicate of what I have on here. If you're modifying some of the dimensions, that's fine as long as you keep it within reason. I will be taking a look at any of those changes and giving you feedback based on it.